What makes an ex miss you? This is what we're going to cover today in this video. Relationship recovery, getting back with an ex, doesn't have to be complex, doesn't have to be difficult. And when we create the right conditions, when we do the right things, when you have the right plan, this is when we can make our ex miss us. I've helped people doing this. It's a fantastic strategy. It's an efficient strategy. You'll see. I'm going to explain everything after the jingle.
igetmyexback.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
First of all, you have few conditions. They will miss you if they care about you. You know, if your relationship was strong enough that they would say things around, you have never been like this with anyone else. I've never loved someone like this. I'm happy with you at some stage throughout your relationship. The important word is significant. Your relationship needs to be significant in their life. Also, an element of you being right to them throughout the relationship or after the breakup. Okay? If you tick those conditions, yes, you can create the condition for them to miss you. And all the things about being clingy, needy, if you haven't done too much damage, that should be fine. If you're not sure whether your relationship was strong enough to be what I call recoverable, I put together a quiz for you to know your chances of you getting back with your ex. It's very simple. Click on the link in the description and it will give you, transfer you to a quiz. It takes about 3 minutes to complete. Assessing the strengths of your relationship and whether this relationship is recoverable. You get the result right away, and at least you know your chances, you have a better idea. Our brain, when we miss someone. So I wanted to really look at few studies, neuroscientific studies, about how we perceive attachment, how we perceive memory. So we miss someone, something you experience right now. You're missing your ex, and this phenomenon, so you can basically experience it right away, is a drop, in terms of chemical in your brain, drop in oxytocin, drop in dopamine. And that's why you have these sometimes withdrawal symptoms of the craving to see your ex. Okay, so the idea is really for us to create those same things in your ex's brain. Second element is that our brain hates change. The problem with today's society is that we change constantly and it's very hard for us to adapt. No wonder a lot of people are anxious, a lot of people are depressed because there's so much change in our life, whether it's like career, love, family, society, there's so much change. And so missing someone is about the pain that you can't continue something. Okay? A breakup is a discontinuity. And so when you break up with someone, you're basically changing the whole thing. Everything falls apart. That's probably how you feel right now. And again, the idea is to make them feel the same. And last but not least, we hate to be single. And from our neurodevelopment, we used back in the days to be, our drive was to be attached to a primary figure. So it's called a primary attachment figure. The idea is that for our survival, we needed to spread our DNA, and we also needed companionship to survive in the jungles. And therefore, we developed in our DNA, in our brain chemistry, this strong need for connection. And when we break up with someone, we basically eradicate one of our core needs. Okay, so these things are the manifestation and what's going on in our head when we miss someone. Okay, it's probably how you feel right now. The idea is to create this in your ex's brain. Now, you have to accept, and I know it's very hard to accept, that your ex won't miss you right away. You miss them from day one. For them, it needs a bit of time. The reason is that the breakup is something they planned. And so when we looked at the discontinuity thing, the chemical in their brain, so the dopamine and oxytocin, the fact of being alone. They process this idea way before they knew. And even though sometimes people are a bit scared of breaking up because of the consequences and they don't know exactly whether they'll be happier single or with someone else than you, they still sort of process this idea way before then. So because it happened before for them, they won't feel this pain, this void, the same as you, okay? And what they do is they proactively focus on the future. They will really proactively manage their time, their attention to think about everything but you. And it's something they train their brain to do before the breakup. You know, they took this decision. Like anyone who takes a decision, they think it's a good decision. And so they will do whatever is necessary to make it work. Okay? So the idea of them missing you needs some time. Because right now, if you just broke up, this is what's going on. Okay? The only thing where it won't work right away, or actually the mechanics that I'm going to introduce will be the same, unless they break up with you to make you react. But what I'm going to introduce would work anyway. Okay? But if they broke up with you because they feel like it's not working, they feel, I don't know, too much pressure, too much commitment, what I'm going to introduce will really create this dynamic of them missing you. Now, there are a few conditions when they will never miss you. They can't miss you if you're constantly around. Okay? If you make the breakup worse than it needs to be. Okay? It's very important, and this one, maybe write it down. The problem most people have is that they create more drama than it needs to be. And it's going to taint the image they have of you. Even, they decide to end relationship. So of course, they think that their life would be easier, happier, whatever, but better without you. Don't confirm this by creating even more drama, by being even more dramatic, by being clingy, by being needy, by harassing them, by showing up at their workplace. Don't make it worse, because then that will confirm their idea. Okay? So don't try to contact them, don't try to be around. If you want them to miss you, you have to go no contact. You have to take them some space, right? The thing is, responding to their message thing is what I call the after sale. So whenever someone breaks up with you and they just want to check whether you're around. So this bit you have to assess with someone, whether it's a friend or myself or another relationship expert. Sometimes people, they will break up with you, but they're not really serious about the breakup. They don't really understand the consequences, and they will sort of keep in touch just to see whether you're around or not. You don't want to be in that situation. Now, a study from the Dr. Fancello. It's a very boring study, very boring. Very interesting study, very long, so I gave you just an extract. Very fascinating, the work he's doing, if you want to have a look on his website. Basically, he's studying memory, and he discovered that the way we process memory is very plastic. And from the same event, the way we recollect this event can be manipulated. So each time we recall a memory, it may be changed depending on the neural circuits that are engaged at that particular moment. So an event that is very high in emotion, that is very high in anxiety, when you think about this event, 1 week after you break an arm, you think about this time of we are such in pain, went to the hospital and whatnot. From now to 2 years after, when you think about other things, the emotional aspect of this, how you recall the memory, will be different. And it's also about what will happen around the idea of breaking an arm and stuff like that. So that's why I think it's so crucial, and that's why I wanted to prove this, what I perceive, what I see with my clients, i.e. don't make the breakup more dramatic than it needs to be. Because as you give your ex ammunition, as you give your ex additional arguments for them to feel like, okay, that's not the right person, he or she's not mature, she or he is negative, it makes things more complicated, will really affect the neural circuits. And they will think that this relationship was even worse than it was. Okay? So now, it's always a process. You have to respect a process. You can't change the past. They took their decision. It's over. Now, if you have a high score at the test that I mentioned before, the breakup, you can't change it. Their decision, you can't change it now. What is sure and guaranteed, again, if you have a high score, not everyone will have a high score. So don't get me wrong. It doesn't work with everyone. At some stage, your ex will be reminded of good times. It happens all the time. And perhaps you've been in that situation when you had another relationship. And even if you were not madly in love with that person, at some stage after the breakup, you start recalling happy memories, nostalgic memory. And the interesting thing about time and space is that the resentments, the pain, the anxiety, the stress of the relationship will lose intensity with time. Again, when you break an arm, 24 hours after, you're still in pain. 24 years after, you laugh about it. I'm not saying you should wait 24 years before getting back with your ex, but it's really about understanding that the way your brain processes memory, the way your brain processes emotion management takes a bit of time. And you have to respect this. And it's a normal process. Now, you're going to ask me, can you accelerate this? I don't want to wait 6 months. I don't want to wait 12 months for my ex to get back together. The answer is yes and no. It's like a plant. If you nurture the plant, it will grow. If you put some, I don't know, I'm not a plant expert, but if you do some supplements or stuff like that, maybe it's going to grow faster, bigger, but you need some time to grow a plant. You need some sun, you need some water, but you also need some time. And so you have to accept that this natural healing process will take time. This time, you shouldn't just be, staying at home and doing nothing. You should be reflecting on yourself, looking at how you can tackle your anxiety, your insecurities, how you can learn to be more secure, maybe address any sort of trauma or things that you went through, understand the different belief system that you have that prevents you from feeling confident and happy. There's so many things that you could be doing. Now, once you've done that work, once you've waited at least a month, I'm a believer that no contact shouldn't be like years of no contact. At least a month, maybe 2. You need to, at some stage, be in touch with your ex. Your ex, as we discussed, will be reminded of you at some stage. Maybe you have mutual friends and that will bring them back. Maybe they'll see pictures of you online. And that will remind them of you, and they would start thinking about the relationship with nostalgia. It always happens. The thing is not to force things. Is if you don't have any news after a month or 2, I think it's okay to get in touch, just to test the water, just to see where they're at. What you need to do is not to convince them with words, is not to work out a cunning plan by, making them jealous or stuff like that. What you want to create is a shock when they see you. And also one thing you have to understand, it's a common mistake that people make. They think like, okay, on this first date, when we see each other, this is the make or break event. This is when we will get back together. It's actually not how it works. The first time you see your ex, it should be just touching base, just catching up, just your first date, even not a date, just for them to have to plant a seed in their mind. Looking at the plant image, you're planting a seed. You manage the breakup with maturity. You've addressed some part of your life that needed to be changed. They see you healthier, more fit, more confident. You don't give enough time for them to be with you. It's very important to have a very short first date. And you leave. And you let this image, you replace this bad image of you that they had to this image of this new person. And once you plant this seed in their head, it's so strong that you're gonna contact again, and you'll see that they're gonna run after you. They're gonna start contacting you. They're gonna be interested in what you're up to. They're gonna challenge their decisions that they made breaking up with you, because what they saw, the preview of what they saw, really conflicted their idea of you. They thought you couldn't do this. They thought you were a workaholic. They thought you were avoidant. They thought you were anxious. They thought you had, I don't know, problem with your family, whatever. And they see you, it's not the case anymore. Don't give all of yourself, just give a little preview, and that will make them miss you even more. If you have any questions, if you want to get in touch, don't hesitate to look in the description. There's also links to book calls with me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.